All right, let's break it down with CBS Sports MLB writer Matt Snyder. Matt, a really interesting ball game and interesting last few weeks here in the world of the Mets. We do have to celebrate a win here for the San Diego Padres, but just put words to it here. How were the Padres able to dominate Game 3 from first pitch to final out?
They hit the ball all around the ballpark. Even a lot of their outs were loud. They didn't even need a home run in this one. It was just a lot of line drives, just, again, using all fields, putting the ball in play. And, you know, by the same token, the Mets, that was a lifeless performance on offense. And they did hit a few balls on the screws right at people, but mostly they just weren't there. And that's where you got to kind of turn and look at Joe Musgrove and say, Joe Musgrove came out and dominated this game in the way that Chris Bassitt did not. And if we're going to go back to the start of the game and talk about the Padres against Chris Bassitt, we do have to talk about how he has a tendency to kind of quick pitch. But the Padres came into the game. It looked like with the specific game plan to call time late, make him step off, make him get out of his rhythm, and make him take some time in between pitches there. And it seemed like it worked. He was not in his rhythm at all there in the early going. And I saw some people kind of complaining that maybe Buck Showalter stuck with him too long, and maybe there's some fairness to that. But, man, the Mets didn't even score, so it didn't matter. Once the Padres got one or two on the board, it was kind of smooth sailing for the Padres there. This was the Padres just thoroughly outplaying the Mets in every aspect of this game. They outplayed them in the 3 games in the series, and they advanced. And it was almost, maybe we could say, kind of similar to how the Mets got thoroughly outplayed by the Braves down the stretch. It just, you know, they had the best start of anybody in baseball. They looked like the best team in baseball maybe for the first 6 to 8 weeks. And they didn't really choke it away as much as the Braves just shot by them, but they haven't really been, I don't know. It just didn't feel like they were themselves here these last few weeks, especially when they got swept by the Braves last weekend.
Yeah, they don't give you hats and T-shirts for 101 wins, and that's all the Mets have to show for this season as they slide out of that divisional title and offer it to the Braves and then find themselves in this wild card round. And yeah, got Scherzer, DeGrom going 1-2. Should make quick work of the Padres, but a shoddy start by Scherzer, some hard work by DeGrom, and then Bassitt gets got here on Sunday night as the Mets get one hit here on Sunday. All right, back to the conversation with our guys as we also welcome in our World Series champion, Will Middlebrooks. Will, just talk with Matt a little bit about the dominance from start to finish here for the Padres. What was the hallmark of this performance for the Padres?
Yeah, I mean, the Padres just played a complete ball game all around. Musgrove was unbelievable. You know, Bassitt, he didn't have his best stuff. I mean, location is key when you're in big games in this part of the season. The Padres almost feel like they're playing with house money. The Mets, there's a ton of pressure there, right? You're in New York. You have this new owner who's spending all this money and bringing all these superstars in. You have to win. He's promising World Series. Well, the Padres come in with less pressure, right? So they're going to be super aggressive with balls in the zone. You saw a ton of non-competitive pitches by Chris Bassitt. It was either over the plate and hittable or way off the plate, and it wasn't even tempting to swing at. So that's why we saw some hard contact. We saw a lot of walks, some loaded bases, a lot of ducks on the pond early in the game for Bassitt, some uncomfortable at-bats for him. But team baseball, we saw sack bunts. This wasn't a game about home runs, which we've seen for the rest of the postseason. It's been all about the home run. Not tonight. It was team baseball.
Yeah, it really was for the Padres. Outstanding stuff. 10 hits to just one of the Mets. And I'm sure every aspect of this game is going to be dissected in New York and the greater metropolitan area, including the ears of Joe Musgrove, who was straight up shoving in this one. But Buck calls Blue out there to check out his ears for some sort of substance in the 7th inning. Can you take us through from the player perspective, Will, what might have been happening there?
Well, this is Buck Showalter's been around for a long time, and this is him. This is gamesmanship, believe it or not. I call it being desperate, whatever it may be. It was a 6th inning. Musgrove was locked in and was not missing, and his spin rates were up. But you're going to get pitchers' velocities and spin rates are all going to be up in the postseason because they're juiced up, their adrenaline's there, they're throwing harder. So you see what Andrew McCutchen said right here about putting red hot. This is a real thing. Now, a ton of guys don't do it. This is more of an old school type thing. There's still a few guys that do it. It just makes you uncomfortable because it's really, really hot. What more guys do more times than not isn't put it all over their ears. They'll lather their arm from the elbow up to your shoulder, even your lat, your chest. It makes your arm burn really bad. And guys do it because they don't feel pain in their arm. If you have a sore shoulder, sore elbow, bicep tendon, whatever it may be, at this point in the season, there's a lot of things that are sore. You put this on there, it creates a burning sensation, it's supposed to keep your muscles loose. They're used for hamstrings and backs and arms. But when it burns really bad, you don't think about anything else that hurts. And that's the case. Guys put on your ears. It's really, really uncomfortable. It's more of like I said, an old school thing. You don't really see it that often anymore. But his ears were shiny. I mean, they felt them. If anything, they look slippery, and that's not going to help the pitcher at all. So that's not what Spider Tack looks like. And I don't think anyone's trying to cheat at this point in the season on the biggest stage they've been on all year.
Here we find ourselves in the early stages of the playoffs, assessing a pitcher's ears. We do have to assess some other things here as well, because you mentioned it, Will. Uncle Stevie pushing his chips to the middle of the table, going all in, only for the Mets here to sort of bow out early at the final table. Matt, I want to go to you because this heartbreak did not sneak up on the Mets and their fan base. It was a really tumultuous last 6 weeks of this season. Can you sort of put into words the collapse that was?
Probably not. Not good enough for the Mets fans. We'll try here. This is a franchise where a lot of the fans are almost self-deprecating, and it's constantly the LOL Mets that you'll see on Twitter and stuff. And I almost feel like they gaslight people into thinking they're the only fan base that has suffered so many heartbreaks. We just saw a team blow an 8-0 lead yesterday. But it's always the Mets fans that talk about how bad they have it and how much they're self-loathing and, oh man, it sucks so bad to be a Mets fan. This is what is going to go on here in the next several weeks, going into the offseason now. Steve Cohen with the owner. I would be worried if you were a fan base thinking that your team was going to sign some free agents and get worried that Cohen's going to totally open up the checkbook and just say, I'm going to sign every single huge free agent right now. But like I've said before, it wasn't so much a Mets collapse in the regular season as much as it was the Braves totally taking it over. The Braves were 78-34 after May. The Mets actually played like a 95-win team from that point forward. The Braves just played like a 114-win team from that point forward. So from that perspective, it would be like, somebody running really well and seeing Usain Bolt blow past them. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like they lost 15 of the last 20 or anything to blow the division. Now, they did get swept. And even going into that Sunday night game last week, if they just would have won that, they would have won the division and not had to deal with this round. I guess it's unfortunate from the Mets perspective. And I do wonder about overreactions to this series. But, man, they did not choke it as much as the Braves just stole it from them.
Yeah, that's part of the new structure that I like is there is a lot of pressure to win your division. And when you're in a stacked division with the Phillies and the Braves, obviously, you got to play really good baseball. Now, I mean, they did. They won 100 games. The Braves won the division. They took it from them. We could keep talking about that over and again. What I'm thinking about is how big is this offer that Cohen is going to make to Aaron Judge, right? Like, how big is this? Because after this loss, he's thinking, I got to do everything possible. I'm promising World Series. I'm coming in here like money grows on trees. Jacob deGrom has an opportunity to opt out. He has basically already said he's going to opt out and he wants to sign a new contract. He didn't really act like he wanted to leave, but you got to play the game and act like you're going to leave. Go get offers from elsewhere to drive up the price of the Mets, which he'll do, and he'll get whatever he wants because he's one of, if not the best pitcher in the game. So they have some questions. They have some holes they have to fill with some guys. But this is still a really good team, and the bones of this team is still really good, and it will be for the next few years.
Yeah, a lot needs to be tended to here in the offseason by Steve Cohen, whether or not this roster looks vastly different, whether they retool it, but Bassett, Diaz, potential opt-out, as you said, by deGrom. It could look a whole lot different for the Mets moving forward, but there is an owner there now that values the product on the field, so potentially could even look even better from a roster standpoint next year. We do have to talk about the Padres' future because they're the ones playing more baseball as they go on to face a team that just had their number all year long in the Dodgers. Southern California rivalry between these two, and the Dodgers 14-5 beat them this season. 14 wins to 5 losses. That was the Dodgers' record against the Padres this year. They outscored the Padres 109-47. Will, when you look at those numbers, I get it, it's the postseason. You wipe it clean, you play the baseball game that's in front of your face. But is there a mental hurdle to get over for this Padres team in the next few days?
Normally I would say no, but in this situation, yes. They're big brother. There's no way around it. It's different when you play at Dodger Stadium because, especially for the Padres, I played for the Padres, and the Dodgers were really good then as well. And you take a bus up there. You're not flying across the country or anything. You're driving an hour and a half up to their stadium to play. And normally you go there and you get your brains beat in because they're always that good. And that's been the case with this team too. But if anything's working to their advantage, it's momentum, which is a real thing in baseball. They're confident right now. You have guys like Trent Grisham who literally, that's a beauty of postseason baseball too, is you have guys like Trent Grisham who hit 184 in 450 at-bats this year. And now he has a chance to play a few more really good games like he has. He hit 500 in this series and completely change his life and be a legend and sign a big contract. It's just how it works. And he has an opportunity to do that here. But back to your original question, I think they have a chance to go in and play with this Dodgers team. They're a great team, but they've been sitting down for 3-4 days not doing anything. And while this team has just been getting hot in the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, and I can't help but think back to sometimes in the recent past, or we could even go back further and talk about where there's one team that this other team just can't get past, or it's their, as Will said, their big brother or something. And I could even go back to the Braves because they couldn't get by the Dodgers before until they did last year, and then they won the World Series. Or we could go back and talk about how the Cubs in 2015 beat the Cardinals in the playoffs and got past them, clearing the way for 2016. Or Will like this one. We could go back to talking about how the Red Sox had to get through the Yankees before they could finally win the World Series. If you're the Padres, coming off a series where most people thought you were going to lose. Oh, look at Scherzer, look at DeGrom. They're not going to get past the Mets. The Mets won 101 games. Well, they just got by them. Now, if you're the Padres, you rally around this idea, hey, now we're ready to slay the beast that has been a thorn in our side for so long, and nobody, and this time it actually is true, nobody thinks that they're going to beat them. I agree with Will that they have a chance. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to steal some. It's probably better for them that it's only a 5-game series instead of 7. Maybe they could sneak up on them. Maybe Juan Soto could talk to them about how his Nationals in 2019 did it to the Dodgers. It's going to be an uphill battle, but there has to be that idea in their heads that this is the beast that we need to slay, so let's get it done here in this 5-gamer.
Maybe it could be that summer where little brother finally punches big brother in the mouth. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Final word, Will.
I will say the 5-game series, I just want to sneak this in. The 5-game series is huge because Clevenger's going game 1, and then you're going Darvish, Snell, Musgrove again. And they all threw the ball really, really well. So if there's any question marks with the Dodgers, it's what are they going to get from their starting pitching, right? Their bullpens had issues too. There's a lot of question marks for a 111-win team. So I wouldn't count the Padres out of this because I counted them out against the Mets, and here we are.
The Padres paid for the pitching, and it's time for it to pay back. Will Middlebrooks, Matt Snyder, thank you guys. All right, taking a look at that schedule ahead, and we're on to the real deal. Wild card aside, it's the Phillies and the Braves as the Braves took down the Mets in the regular season in that 3-game set to earn this much-needed break and earn a trip to welcome the Phillies, that is. And the Phillies coming out of their wild card round, Padres and Dodgers will begin on Tuesday as well, 9:37 Eastern time, game 1 set. Then it'll be the Phillies and Braves on Wednesday, Padres and Dodgers again Wednesday as well. So you're going to Tuesday, Wednesday, divisional round up next.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.